Good evening and thanks for being with us on this Friday. I'm Rob Caldwell. Samantha York is off. Coming up, it's an anniversary that deserves a salute for one of the best known voices in Maine.
I'm going to call you and he's looking around his office for inspiration. You'll be and he sees a picture of a ship or something on his one. He goes, you'll be the captain.
He is the captain, Herb Ivy. He's celebrating 40 years at WBLM, and we're going to take you back to an earlier chapter of a remarkable career. And one of sport's biggest rivalries is getting set for its next chapter. U.S. and Canada have won every women's hockey gold medal in the Olympics, and now the teams are getting ready to square off once again in Milan, and the U.S. has extra motivation this time around. But first, what Alix Morris did recently would sound to a lot of people like a dream job. She devoted 12 months to learning as much as she could about some of the most captivating creatures in the sea, seals. Alix Morris is a science writer, and she has written about her research and experiences in her new book, A Year with the Seals. She describes those creatures as both charismatic and controversial, and admits she probably wouldn't have written about them if they weren't so irresistibly cute.
That is true. Most likely. There's something about that charisma that definitely drew me to this topic, in addition to a number of other things. But yes, I will give you that. The cute, charismatic seals definitely are a draw.
What humans find so compelling about seals is usually their big, irresistible eyes, which it turns out have helped protect the seal population.
There have been studies that show that people are willing to give more conservation funding to causes for wildlife that have large eyes, and so it's just sort of a funny aspect of their biology.
The other feature that we typically find endearing is their whiskers. Something I learned from the book is that their whiskers aren't say like a cat's whiskers, they're more almost like porcupine quills, you write.
Right. The whiskers are these incredibly sensitive kind of sixth sense for seals, and they can actually pick up the movements of fish in water and the speed at which they're moving and the direction, and so it makes them these incredible hunters.
Seals are common on the coast of Maine, fairly easy to find. But not long ago, just in the early 1970s, they had been hunted in New England almost to extinction.
It was really decades of state-sponsored bounty hunts in Massachusetts and Maine to just truly annihilate seal populations. So by the early 1970s, harbor seals were almost non-existent, and gray seals were pretty much extirpated from these waters.
Environmental laws changed in the 1970s. Seals got protection. They could not be harassed. They could not be hunted. And that led to a dramatic rebound in the seal population in the Northeast, right?
Yes, yeah. So since 1972, when the Marine Mammal Protection Act went into place, seal populations, and specifically gray and harbor seals, they have rebounded dramatically. And so it really is this sort of remarkable conservation success story.
When you set out to write this book, what was the story that you thought you wanted to tell?
I think when I started, I was surprised that seals were controversial in any way. That was something that sort of drew me to the story.
The controversy stems from a natural conflict, namely that seals want to eat and do eat what fishermen want to catch.
At the end of the day, the controversies with seals really have nothing to do with seals, that it has to do with humans, with competing interests and values.
People who think that seals are adorable are people who have never suffered personal financial loss because of what the seals do.
You have to sort of think about that, and I always liken it to how I feel about deer and squirrels and things that are munching on my vegetable garden, and the fury that I have over that, when again, it's animals doing what animals do.
We have a lot of seals here in Maine. Perhaps the most common image, though, that people get is of...
Pause 1 second, because he just showed us.
We had come to Fort Popham thinking we had a pretty good chance of seeing a seal here. We were not disappointed.
You really dug deep into this subject, but when you're just out having fun, relaxing on the coast of Maine, and you're looking out on the water and you suddenly see a seal pop its head up out of the water? What's your reaction?
Joy, I would say, yes. It's always fun for me to see the seals after spending so much time trying to track them down and trying to understand them and really trying to figure out what we know and what we don't know. I see them and I still think about the mysteries, which is always kind of a fun way to kind of marvel at the natural world.
As we mentioned, we did that interview at Fort Popham in Phippsburg, where the Kennebec River flows into the ocean. It can be a really good place to see seals. And again, the name of Alix Morris's book is A Year with the Seals. When we come back, a milestone for a Maine broadcasting giant. This year, Herb Ivy of WBLM Radio in Portland is marking his 40th anniversary with that station. It's an extraordinary run in an industry not known for the longevity of its announcers. Herb is a singular talent, a member of the Maine Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame, and someone who's been on our radar for a long, long time, including the time we did this story when he was celebrating his 25th anniversary at BLM in 2010.
Turn on your radio any weekday morning, spin the dial to the right side of the FM band, and it may seem as if Herb Ivy has been on WBLM forever.
Morning show at 7:49 is the Captain and Celeste. Thank you for tuning in this morning on this 2 for Tuesday.
Herb, better known on the air as the Captain, hasn't been there forever. But earlier this month, he hit a milestone, a big one.
102.9 WBLM. It's the 25th anniversary of the greatest guy in broadcasting. It is Herb Ivy's 25th anniversary. Captain Ivy, congratulations.
It's quite a run. 25 years at the same station, the last 22 of them on the morning show, the most listened to time slot of the day.
And that's what WBLM sounds like under the special watchful eye of the captain. 25 years piloting the blimp, and we're so excited to be celebrating his anniversary today.
The enthusiasm is not an act. Most everyone agrees Herb is as nice a guy as you'll ever meet.
One of the things I love the most about him is that he's like really goofy, so it gives you the freedom to, do what you want. You can say anything in front of him, and he'll laugh and take it in the spirit in which it's intended.
For a guy in radio, as we know in broadcasting, there's a lot of big egos and, attention seeking. He's completely the opposite.
The passion for radio came second. What came first was a love of rock and roll.
My brother and I have an older brother, and we used to keep the meticulous charts of top 40 charts, and this is late 60s, early 70s. So I still have 45s with like numbers on them. Well, I peaked at number 12, Incense and Peppermints, I peaked at number 12.
So how do you get from Incense and Peppermints to a career? By the way, yes, I'm a geek and actually own this album. Well, Herb went off to the University of Virginia and found an outlet when he became a DJ at the college radio station.
He was so good, even in college. His radio show was from 12 to 3 or 12 to 4 on Friday afternoons, and you walk through campus, and people had their dorm windows open, apartment windows open, blaring WUVA and Herb Ivy's show. Let's just say that was not the standard. That did not happen during the rest of the week.
Maine Public Television and former News Center anchor Jennifer Rooks worked for Herb at the college radio station.
He interviewed me and hired me for my first job, unpaid job, but my first job in broadcast journalism. He did things back then, 2 for Tuesday, 2 songs back to back on Tuesdays from the same group. He still does that at BLM.
Tuesday. 2 for Tuesday on the blimp.
The joy for Herb is not talking on the radio or being a local celebrity. For him, it's still about the music.
I'm kind of the bartender. This is the party, and I'm kind of the bartender and the guy changing the records and mixing the drinks, and that's kind of how I see myself, as opposed to, I'm the attraction and we'll just happen to play some music.
I've often said he doesn't even know how good he is as a personality on the air, because that's just who he is.
Good. 8:08, we come to you live from the 3rd floor, beautiful One City Center, smack dab in the middle of Portland, Maine.
So how did he get that nickname, the Captain? Well, it came about after he'd been at BLM just a few months.
And then they called me in one day, program director Jose came in and said, you can't be Herb anymore. Herb is the geekiest. There's nobody under the age of 80 with the name Herb. You're going to have to change your name. And I said, sure. And he goes, okay, I'm going to give you a name. He goes, I'm going to call you the... And he's looking around his office for inspiration. You'll be the... and he sees a picture of a ship or something on his one. He goes, you'll be the captain.
If it all looks easy and improvised, just goofing around and playing music, that's because you don't see the hard work. Herb gets up every day at 2 a.m., spends about a half hour preparing the show, goes back to bed, and then arrives at the studio before sunrise.
I can come in and say, I got 2 hours of sleep last night. The baby was up, and I'm just toast. And he'll, oh, no problem. Tomorrow's another day. Come on, let's go. And he'll pump me full of coffee and he'll make me laugh.
There aren't many radio stations that still play vinyl, but Herb sees that his does.
We're going to kick off 2 hours of commercial-free rock and roll right off the turntable this morning. Never looking back. It's 102.9 WBLM.
It's not just vinyl he's got a history with. He instructed the jocks at the college radio station on the operation of what was then a dazzling piece of new technology.
We had a mandatory staff meeting, and Herb Ivy taught us how to use a compact disc player.
Yeah, it all comes back to the music. At the anniversary party, Herb's son called in and said this.
You're the man. I know I've always said all you do is spin Skinnerd, but keep spinning Skinnerd because we freaking love it.
Yeah.
Woo! Peace, Daddy-o.
We'll get to some Boston. We'll get to some Skinnerd. You guys love the meat metaphors. We'll keep those rolling this morning. Good morning, BLM.
You guys ain't no piece of meat. You guys are the gourmet buffet.
Wow.
Tune in tomorrow. He'll be there. After all, being a DJ on WBLM wasn't just the first job Herb Ivy had after college. It's the only job he's had.
It's only rock and roll, but we do like it. It's 102.9 WBLM. Thank you guys so very much.
So that was Herb celebrating 25 years at BLM. Now it's 40 years. Congratulations to him and to Celeste. They're still on the air, still going strong. When we come back, looking for redemption, how the U.S. women's hockey team is getting ready to take on its biggest rival in Milan. It is one of the greatest rivalries in sports, the United States and Canada in women's hockey. These two countries are on a collision course for gold in Italy again.
The world of women's hockey is a small one. That world consists of North America, the United States, and Canada.
We hate them. It's an awesome rivalry. It's so spicy out there.
Since women's hockey started in the Olympics, these two countries have pretty much staged a two-team tournament.
Blood boils sometimes on the ice and even off the ice, so I think, yeah, it's definitely one of the greatest rivalries.
In 7 Olympic Games, Canada and the U.S. have won the gold medal each time. The Americans won gold in 1998 in Nagano. Then Canada won 4 Olympic Games in a row in Salt Lake, Torino, Vancouver, and Sochi. The red, white, and blue stopped that streak in 2018 in Pyeongchang. But then Canada stood on top of the podium 4 years later in 2022 in Beijing.
The loss always sucks, and it stays with you for quite a while.
When it ended in 2022, I mean, we all looked right to 2026, and we knew what our goal was, and we want to win a gold medal.
And here we go again. This time it's a showdown in Milan this February.
This is their Stanley Cup, at Olympics, and everything is all wrapped up into one as far as their dreams are concerned, and this is the tip of the iceberg for women's hockey.
And it should come down to the U.S. and Canada yet again. The possibility of beating the Canadians to win Olympic gold is what keeps Team USA coming back to the rink every day.
When both teams step on the ice, it's almost like a do or die mentality, and I think everyone takes so much pride in like U.S. or Canada, and I think that gets put on display when we hit the ice.
In women's hockey, supremacy is judged by Olympic gold. Add some bad blood, rich history, and the best players in the world, and you have one of the best rivalries in sports.
The U.S. and Canada will have their first games on February 5th. Then they will face off in tournament play on February 10th. And we'll be back right after this. Coming up Monday on 207, a sweet tradition is back at the Barbara Bush Children's Hospital in Portland. Professional chefs have been coming to the hospital every December to make gingerbread houses and other treats with patients and their families. This has been going on since 2003. They had to pause the festivities during COVID, and they brought the event back this year. For the children and their families, it's a chance to tuck away their worries and celebrate the holiday season. And the chefs get something out of it too.
Well, I'm in love all over again. We've been doing this since 2003, and every year it's just more and more heartwarming. And Lucy and I did a really good job. I mean, I think she's got quite an eye for decorating.
Samantha York takes us to the Barbara Bush Children's Hospital, where patients are spreading their own holiday cheer. That's Monday here on 207. Thanks for being with us this week. As we head out, we've got music from Alix Morris. Here's her song, Created Me. Have a good weekend.
Crafted by the last of the ones who planned their lives to become ours. I am all that they once knew, molded into who they imagined when they wished upon their stars. Time plants seeds, all that once was theirs created me. Do I have her smile from hundreds of years ago? Do I squint my eyes like he did when he was a kid? Can our history say why my sister twirls her hair in that way? Is it more of who came before? 'Cause we're all pieces of the past, crafted by the last of the ones who planned their lives to become ours. I am all that they once knew, molded into who they imagined when they wished upon their stars. Time plants seeds, all that once was theirs, all that once was theirs. Oh, created me.